Greetings, nice to see everyone. Today, I mentioned ahead of time, I'm not sure if it started or just started now, but hello to everyone. And I want to just spend today, I've been promising to jump on every day for about 10 minutes and talk about something that will help you get your time back. So whether it's related to social media, which I talked about yesterday, or just anything in general, what is it that you could be doing that could get you at least 10 hours of your life back a week? Wouldn't that be amazing? And so yesterday I talked a little bit about, sorry, one second. I think a bit of a social challenge here. Let's see. Sorry about that. Little snafu over there. So yesterday we talked about social media, and we talked about how it's not necessarily that you're spending time on social media that's the problem. It's more what's leading to it, and what is it that's driving you to the scroll, if you will. But that's really just one example of where people's time goes. But the reason I even brought that up is because oftentimes they'll say, wouldn't you love to get 10 hours a week of your life back? And people will say, yeah, if all I have to do is stop scrolling on social media and I'll be fine. But I just can't get myself to do that. Well, technically, that's not really the only thing that's taking up time that you can get time back from. It's one, and we talked a little bit about yesterday of what to do when you're thinking about how you're spending your time on there and what it is that you want to be doing versus what you are doing and what's driving that. But today is really looking at what's before how you're spending your time. What's helping you make the decision on how to spend your time. So whether it's your calendars running the show, or somebody in your life asks you to do something, or maybe it's just self-imposed deadlines, or whatever it might be, there's a reason behind the decision to say yes to something. And every time we say yes to something, we're saying no to something else. So if I say yes to a meeting, I'm saying no to whatever else I would be doing in that 1 hour. And somebody once explained or mentioned that to me once, where they said, well, if you say yes to going out with your friends for dinner, you're saying no to having dinner with your children, which was like, well, that's kind of dramatic, but I kind of see that, right? You can use that as an example. And then it becomes, well, if I don't go out with my friends, what's the impact? If I don't have dinner with my kids, what's the impact? And is there a way to still be able to do both, just maybe at different times? Or the question is really intended to help you decide, is that important really? Which thing is more important than the other? And are you putting your time in a place that's actually going to deliver value of the experience of life that you want to have? And we have a lot more control over that than often we give ourselves the ability to have credit for, right? So what today is all about is thinking about what's happening before you say yes to something. So whether it's you're looking at how much screen time you have, whether you're getting on meeting calls, whether it's getting into commitments, social commitments, but what is it that's driving the yes? So it could be people pleasing, right? Sometimes we just say yes because we think that's what the person wants to hear, or maybe it's a requirement for work, or maybe it's you just want to be dependable, you don't want to let anybody down, or maybe you're avoiding a decision. If you say yes to this, then you don't have to think about that. Or you have different priorities and you're not sure which one really matters more than the other. And a lot of times we'll have our to-do lists that are really long, and it's just a matter of getting some check marks versus which things do we want to be check marking first, which is going to make the biggest impact, then what is left over, and how many times has it been left over? Has it been on there for a month and you just keep moving it forward and moving it forward? And in which case, does it even belong on there? Why is it even there? Why do we feel the need? Like, why did it even land on the list? So it's just really thinking about what is behind your yes or even your no to the other thing, right? So let's say you say yes to a meeting, and so you're saying no to time with your family. Well, you're saying no not because you don't care about your family, but you think that when you say yes to this work thing, that it's providing for your family in some way, right? But then we can keep doing that and keep saying that that matters because it does. We need to bring home the cash, right? We have to support our family. But if it's always about that and it's easy to have a reason to say, yes, this matters. It's about not getting fired or it's about having money to spend on my kids. But how many times are you saying yes to that and no to the other thing? And is there a way to not always say yes and still have the job and not get fired and be making money, right? There's so many yeses to where you might be able to say no to one of those so that you could say yes to the other thing that you've continued to say no to, even though you may not be thinking of it that way. So that's what today is really about for you guys, is to really be thinking about what is it that you're going to be able to adjust to get that time back. And one of them is, if you look at the calendar, it's showing meetings and appointments and deadlines. So why did you accept it to get on your calendar? Did it get put on there for work? Did it get something that you put on there because you feel like it needs to get done or it should get done? Are they have tos, really? A lot of times when certainly before I started my company Journey Fuel and I was in consulting, lots of things would land on my calendar. And so it's about, do I have to say yes to that? Or let's say, even if it's a recurring meeting with a bunch of people on it, and you're not the only person on it, so it's not like, oh, the world revolves around me, so everybody should else have to change their schedule. But you never know, right? Maybe the organizer just randomly picked that time because they thought that would be great, and then everyone just says yes because they said so. But if you wrote back and said, is this the only time for you, or is this a time that's important to you to keep it at this time, or is it possible to do it another time? And you'd be surprised how many times they'll say, oh yeah, it's not a big deal, I just picked it. When's better for you? Oh, 10. Okay, yeah, sure, that works for me. And then now everybody on the calendar invite is 10. Most people don't come back and say anything, right? So sometimes you do have that choice. You could also look at your calendar and say, well, why did I say yes to this? That can be a question for you for the day and for tomorrow, since we're kind of near the end of the day. But the challenge for today is, why did I say yes to this? When you're clicking yes, and is this really adding value to my life? Is it really necessary? What's the result of saying yes? What would I otherwise spend my time doing? And which one is more important? Because the less commitments you have on your calendar, the fewer commitments you have, the more time you have to choose what else to do. So then it gives you more choice, gives you more flexibility. So there's that. And then the other thing is, when someone's asking you to do something, how many times has that person asked you to do something? And is it that they're just used to you saying yes? I had a client once who was in a group coaching call with me once, and she was saying how, my husband just keeps asking me to do all this stuff and I'm really overwhelmed. And another client on the call said, have you ever said no? And it was a male, which I love female male group calls, because you always get these very different perspectives. And she's like, no. And then he gave his perspective as a husband, that his wife actually got on his case to say, you know what? No, I don't have time to do that. And he said it was if she hadn't said no, I wouldn't have thought that it wasn't okay to just ask her all the time. But once she said no or explained why she wouldn't have time, he started to get, oh, her time's valuable too. It's not just to do my own stuff. So sometimes it's a matter of just saying no once, and the people kind of get it, right? Or you explain it and you say, well, why me? Why not somebody else? Or there's a lot of different options. So that's another thing to think about is, have you ever told the person no that you keep saying yes to, that's now kind of sucking up your time? So the other thing too is, what is it that, is this like a pattern? Maybe you say yes super fast. Maybe you don't even think about, do I want to say yes to this? You just say yes. Or even if somebody asks you to do something, if you're talking to your boss or something and they say, I need that report by Friday, and you just presume, okay, well, I got to do that by Friday now. Well, there goes my plans. Instead of saying, well, are you actually going to read it on Friday? Or if I get it to you before Monday morning, is that fine? Because the odds of him looking at it at the end of day on Friday is, what are the odds of that? It's just a deadline to give you something for an end of day finish line. It doesn't mean that he's going to read it over the weekend. So if you want more time, or if it's not convenient for you to do it by Friday, just ask, when are they actually going to read it? Or maybe you think, you know what, I do that report every single week and I don't get the value of it. Like I have no idea what they actually use it for. Maybe it's just this routine thing that people do all the time just because. But is it actually adding value to anything? So today is really just about thinking, what is it that we're doing? What are we saying yes to? And stopping and pausing. Why am I saying yes to this, or why am I choosing no? Because the opposite is, let's say your friends ask you to go to happy hour, or you have an opportunity to do something fun on the weekend, but you say, no, I don't have time. Well, is that true really? Or did you just presume you don't have enough time because you're always busy doing other things? Or maybe that's the only time you have any downtime and you just don't want to be around people. But at least thinking about, do I want to say yes or do I want to say no? And why? What am I giving up when I answer no? What am I giving up when I answer yes? And then make your decision. And that's something for your challenge for tomorrow, just to play with that. And so with that, I would love for you guys to just put in the chat what you thought of today, if you enjoyed it, if you got something out of it, or you could DM me and I can give you a next step of where else you can start looking at where your time might be going. So have a fabulous Thursday. It's wonderful to see you guys. And if you didn't catch the beginning, it'll be here for you to rewatch and enjoy. Remember to ask why before you say yes or no, and enjoy. Bye for now.